Manipur's fragile ethnic balance is under strain again, with fault lines now widening beyond the valley-hill divide. For nearly 3 years, the conflict remained largely between Meitei and Kuki Zo group, but fresh reports from Ukhrul point to a direct escalation between Tangkhul Naga groups and Kuki villagers, a significant shift that has taken place. A pre-dawn attack on the Meitei-Kuki village has left houses burnt and civilians injured. This comes amid rising tension driven by recent killings, blockades and retaliatory mobilization, drawing the Naga community deeper into the crisis. Manipur now risks a multi-front tussle, putting the government under pressure. We also decode the Manipur CSO conundrum. What's driving the escalation and can it be contained? The pictures you saw are of the bodies that the Meitei groups have claimed. The pictures you see today is of the attack which took place. So these are two different pictures. This is of a different event. The one which is being shown earlier is of the incident I am talking about, which is of the attack. Yes, the houses burned, civilians injured. The pre-dawn attack has been reported from Meitei-Kuki village in Ukhrul district. Multiple houses were set on fire, several civilians have been injured, with at least 2 reported to be in serious condition. Since 2023, violence in Manipur has largely been between Meitei and Kuki Zo groups. However, recent developments have directly impacted Naga communities, drawing them into a conflict space. The killing of 2 Naga civilians earlier this month triggered widespread anger. The UNC Council responded with a shutdown call and urged the suspension of ties with Kukis. This marks a clear shift from the position of non-interference to active mobilization. The current escalation did not happen in isolation. Over the past few months, multiple flashpoints have emerged in various areas, abductions, killings, the camps being attacked. Now, clashes were reported as recently as April 21 during a shutdown enforced by the Naga group. As far as today's attack is concerned, the incident took place around 5:30 am in the Meitei-Kuki district. Now, the reports indicate that armed group targeted these houses. On top of it, the larger issue is that there has been no attempt by the civil society groups to get the people together. Now, for example, foothills-based organization have announced a ban in the protest. The Naga majority areas has sometimes also gone under the some sort of a ban. Now, what is this raising the concern about? The concern is that this disrupts normal life, disrupts to and fro of people. The protest takes place in Imphal very regularly. Mera Paibis have been organized on streets. Kokomi has been organized on street. Now, on top of it, certain Naga groups have also come out. So, instead of stabilizing over a period of time, the situation remains as uncertain as it was. And the civil society agencies have not played the role which people expect that they should be playing in a charged atmosphere. Now, let me introduce my guest, Major General Sudhakar ji. I am also joined by Group Captain B. Nandakumar Sharma, social activist Hejang Misao and Vijesh Pandey, input editor of News9. Let's just put this in perspective. First to you, Misao, what happened today? And then I'll introduce my other guests.
Thanks, Kartiki, once again for this. So, what is happening today is very disturbing and also very unfortunate. But for the sake of the viewer to understand how things unfold, I would also like to give some background history on how things happen. In fact, on 7th February, there was a scuffle between 2 intoxicated men. One belongs to the Tangkhul Naga and the other belonged to the Meitei-Kuki. And that intoxicated scuffle between the 2 individuals, which can be solved through customary laws, unfortunately was communalized, and then that also with the presence of the CSO from both sides, they couldn't find any kind of solution, and in the presence of SP and DIG, they cannot come into terms. And then unfortunately on that very night, on 8th of February, the Tangkhul community, out of anger, they started burning the house of the Kuki in Litan Sarekong, and the retaliation takes place from the other community. And then, burning of houses takes place, and then the next was like the two Kuki men on 12 March were killed when they went for repairing the water supply pipes. And that two innocent civilians, the Kuki, killed in their attempt to repair the pipelines. There was like, I mean, angers in the other community. And unfortunately, just a couple of days back, there was ambush on the civilian who were passing through the national highway, and another two Tangkul civilians were killed.
Okay. So, because this program is watched all over India, I appreciate that you have been able to localize it. Misa, my question is, why are small things flaring up into such big issues?
That's what I would like to come into, because and one of the most saddest part of Manipur is ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism has taken over humanity. Ethnicity has taken over humanity. So one small incident is always communalized. One small incident is always turned into a communal flame. And rather than looking from the humanity perspective, someone is always looking at ethnic lens. That is the reason why people are always taking one small issue into such big scale, which resulted into unfortunate incidents like what's happening today, where I mean the Tangkul militants, attacking the Kuki village and burning the houses, and two lives were lost, and 8 innocent villagers were seriously injured today. And this is something that is very important.
Okay, so let me go across to Nandakumar Sharma. Mr. Sharma, why are small issues becoming so big? Why are people still, coming onto the streets? The protests are being organized. The Kokumi does, then the Mera Paibi does. Why is this happening? Why has this restarted? What is your assessment? Are people instigating it?
Kartike very nicely brought out. It shows the lack of, lack of control over the law and order by the administration. Overall, it is the main reason, because the law and order is to be maintained by the state. In case of state ruled by democratically elected party, like the way it's happening in Manipur, or if it is a president's rules, it lies with the central government under the presidents. So here the execution of the law and order or enforcement of law and order appears very weak for last 3 years. The two CM, we have seen it earlier, Mr. Biren Singh and now Mr. Khemchan Singh, and in between we have seen a governor on behalf of the government of India who are supposed to handle the affairs of the Manipur, but all of them fail. It shows that they have no control over the enforcing of law and order. What it means? Either it means it's a neglect for the people of this geographical location, which is contained in say about 22,000 square kilometers, and just lack of concern about the people living there, irrespective of the communities, and also the law and order laid down by the constitution and democratic rules as per the existing Indian constitution, they are not applied properly. I have been saying it openly, and once again I would like to quote that suspension of operation, such agreement allows certain group of people, certain arms group of people to use the arms the way they want. So it gives a differentiation, or they are more privileged in the eyes of the law. So as long as such discrimination or such privilege exists, the law enforcers cannot see or treat everybody equally. So this will happen, and people have seen it. We have seen it, the killing of innocent civilians. I will not consider here the encounter happening between the two arms groups, but I will specifically bring out the civilian casualties in all the communities, let it be Meitei, Naga or Kuki or other communities. So civilian suffering is not acceptable as per the existing law.
Okay, very nice.
It shows that there is lack of control over the enforcing agencies.
Okay, very nicely put. Brijesh.
Well, I think, the ethnic, as I've been saying, in the last couple of shows as well, Kartike, the ethnicity of it has become, has prevailed over the single identity of Manipuri. Now it is neatly divided between Kuki, Zo community, Meiteis and
now
Nagas. Other than that, and it is, this flaring up is continuously fueled by CSOs, as nobody is making a serious attempt to calm the temperature down. Nobody is making that kind of effort. It's not visible there. The most important thing is, as Captain Sharma was saying, is that the state has no clue. The administration has no clue of how to deal with the situation. They are devising piecemeal initiatives, which is not resulting into a long-lasting or even a short-term lasting solution to this situation which is unfolding. Now, this new drawn battle between the Kuki group and the Naga group, given the kind of history they had, is an extremely worrisome situation which is unfolding.
Okay, let me ask this question point blank to General Sudhakarji. Sir, I'm not trying to malign anyone. Why are CSOs articulating Kuki, Meitei, Naga, or CSO? I will not use the ethnic name. I have decided today. I'm not going to. These CSO articulating the positions of those groups which are acknowledged either as underground or militant or those who operate beyond the pale of law, and people, in the eyes of the people, are armed. Why are these CSOs actually articulating those lines? I'm not going to even name those groups and the CSOs. Everyone understand what I'm talking about, and it cuts across ethnic lines.
Karthikeya, good evening. Thank you for inviting me for your show, and my wholehearted compliments to you and your channel. I have been getting a lot of complimentary acknowledgement and messages from friends from overseas about your channel, the expertise, and very professional analysis you have been carrying out. Now, coming straight to the question. Firstly, my compliments to all the distinguished co-panelists. They deserve to have the last say, but since I have served in the area and I have been joining the dots, I would say, before I respond to your question in specific, there is a bigger game in play. The bigger game is to be seen from the lens of perspective of keeping India destabilized. In multiple channels, although I have become very selective these days, and platforms, I have gone on record to say there is an external force which is deliberately trying to trigger these kind of disturbances and turbulence. And external force, a lot of people say Chinese, the United Front Works Department, a lot of people say CIA. I don't have any evidence with me, but I know for sure they are being deliberately triggered to keep this particular axis disturbed so that the Act East policy of India gets absolutely aborted. It's an axis joining India, Myanmar, and Bangkok, Thailand, 1,700 kilometers. I think 75 to 80% of the distance is already done. It's a distance of about 170, 180 kilometers yet to be completed. If that is completed, India will have on-ground physical connectivity with Southeast Asia, and it will have a lot of ramifications, which time will not permit. But let me first of all come to the core issue. Core issue is that people have to understand that the valley, Manipur Valley, those of you who have been on ground, they would understand better, but there are viewers who need to understand the valley is actually west-east aligned. And some of them are north-south, but majorly it is aligned from west to east. And there are hill features to the south and hill features to the north. The hill features to the south are predominated, inhabited by Kukizos, and to the north are actually Nagas. The percentage, although I am covering the basics for better understanding by your viewers, the Meiteis are approximately 52.9, 53%. Kukizos are around 16 to 17%. Okay. And Nagas are around 20%. These are the three major tribes.
Okay.
Somebody mentioned about suspension of operation. I do endorse. Manipur government, I think, has pulled out in 2023, if I am not wrong. Sir. And having pulled out, the basic issue which is actually coming to the fore is that I also, as a military man, I am debarred and prohibited from taking reference of religion. But unfortunately, if you don't call out, if you don't call spade a spade, then you are not doing justice to the subject.
Okay, can you quickly come to the point, sir?
Yeah, there are Nagas to the north, there are Kukis to the south.
Sir.
Without meaning any kind of, ill feelings at anyone, there is a force which is actually manipulating the sentiments and the emotions of both the groups, because the tribal facilities are actually biased towards Kukis and not so much to the Nagas. I may be wrong, please correct me.
Okay.
The Meiteis have been demanding the scheduled tribes status,
Okay.
which
Okay, I'll come to that. Okay, because I need to go to Professor also. There's a time. There's also
Yeah,
a
yeah,
time.
please.
Yes, Professor Biswas.
Correct. Yeah, please. You can ask me a question, or I.
Oh, no.
just-
My question to you remains the same. Why are these
Okay.
CSOs? This is see the debate is the CSO conundrum. Why do they articulate hardline positions?
Actually, you can see these are civil society groups by their very definition. Now, when does a civil society group get active? When they see that their ordinary populace have a certain issue and a political issue, in the case of Manipur, the precedent background of violence, the kind of mayhem, the kind of torture, the gory, barbaric act of death, and all kinds of cruelties that have happened, has actually created a deep sense of injury and wound in the minds of the ordinary
Okay,
people.
let me just
So,
add
so
something to
Kuki
you,
CSOs,
Professor.
coming to the
I did
point,
a show.
Kuki-
I'm not going to name my panelists. Arambai Tengol took out a press release.
Yeah.
They took out a press release. I mean, so they can take out a press release. I have no issue. It's a democratic country, but I understand the context. There was a press release.
Yeah, press releases by so many CSOs, not just one. UNC also has, Kuki Joe Council has, Kuki INPI has. Everyone
You were
has
there in the
put forth
discussion.
their perspective on the table for the recent violence. And especially the visuals like cutting the pipeline, and then at night there is a certain kind of attack. All these actually triggers a kind of a sense of, resistance or revenge or whatever. Now, the situation is such that the security forces is finding it very tough to manage. The central security forces, the state security forces, the state government have to go to the affected area and really have to create a situation of calm without really using strong arm tactic. They should be persuasive enough so that CSOs also understand their role and responsibility. So a different kind of a role and responsibility needs to be created in the environment. And who will do this task? It is the government, once again responsible, leading persons from various societies,
Okay.
various ethnic groups must come forward. And they should really see that violence doesn't recur. It must come to a halt by that initiative. So
Okay.
an initiative really needs to be taken. It
Okay.
cannot be left in the blank.